Walk into the lobby of your local bank. Take a moment to look around. It is designed to smell like money. The floors are polished marble. The pillars are thick stone. The tellers are smiling behind bulletproof glass. The vault door in the back looks like it could survive a nuclear strike. Everything about the architecture screams safety. It screams stability. It screams, your money is here. This is the most expensive stage set in the world. It is theater, designed to lull you into a false sense of security while they pick your pocket. Because the truth is, your money is not in the vault. Your money is not in the computer. In fact, from the moment you hand your cash to the teller, it is legally no longer your money. Most people live their entire lives under a fatal misconception. They believe that a bank is a warehouse. You think you put your money in for safekeeping, like storing a coat in a closet, and you can take it out whenever you want. This is a lie. A bank is not a warehouse. A bank is a casino. And you are not a customer. You are an unsecured creditor. When you deposit your paycheck, you are legally loaning that money to the bank. You're giving them a loan with zero collateral. And in exchange, they give you a digital IOU on a screen. Now, here's the nightmare scenario that is keeping financial insiders awake at night. In 2008, during the global financial crisis, the government saved the banks with bailouts. They took tax money, your future earnings, and gave it to Citigroup, to Bank of America, to AIG. The public was furious. The Tea Party rose. Occupy Wall Street rose. The politicians realized that if they did another taxpayer bailout, they would be dragged out of their offices and onto the guillotine. So they changed the rules, quietly, in the dead of night. They passed the Dodd-Frank Act in the United States. The European Union passed the Bank Recovery and Resolution Directive. These laws introduced a new mechanism called the bail-in. Do you see the difference? A bailout comes from the outside the taxpayer. A bail-in comes from the inside. And who is on the inside? You, the depositor. Under the new laws, when a bank fails, and they will fail in 2026, the government is forbidden from saving them with tax money. Instead, the bank is legally authorized to recapitalize itself by seizing the funds of its depositors. They can take your checking account, your savings account, your business account, and convert that money into bank equity. They will take your hard dollars and give you worthless shares of a bankrupt bank in exchange. It is legal theft. It is a confiscation event that has been codified into law in almost every Western nation. To understand the visceral horror of this, imagine you go to a high-end restaurant. It is winter. You hand your expensive fur coat to the coat check attendant. He gives you a ticket. You go inside, have dinner, and enjoy yourself. At the end of the night, you go back to the coat check to get your coat. The attendant looks at you blankly. "I'm sorry," he says. "The restaurant had a gambling debt to the mafia. To pay it off, we sold all the coats. But here is a share of stock in the restaurant." You look around. The restaurant is on fire. The stock is worth zero. And you are walking home in the freezing cold with nothing but a piece of paper. That is a bail-in. You might be thinking, but I am insured. The FDIC covers me up to $250,000. This is the second layer of the illusion. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation is a myth. It is a psychological placebo. Look at the math. The U.S. banking system has nearly $20 trillion in deposits. The FDIC has a deposit insurance fund of roughly $120 billion. That is a reserve ratio of less than 1%. If one medium-sized bank fails, the fund can cover it. If the system fails, the insurance fund is a thimble of water trying to put out a forest fire. In a systemic crisis, the kind we are approaching in 2026, the FDIC will be insolvent within hours. They will not send you a check. They will issue certificates of deposit insurance that you can redeem in 10 or 20 years, maybe. Or the Federal Reserve will print the trillions needed to cover the deposits, triggering immediate hyperinflation. Either way, you lose. Either your money is gone, or your money is worthless. We already saw the dress rehearsal for this. It happened in Cyprus in 2013. The banks failed. The government declared a holiday. The ATMs stopped working. And when the banks reopened, anyone with more than 100,000 euros had nearly 50% of their money confiscated. Just gone. Deleted from the database. The people rioted. They screamed. But the European Union said it was a template for future crises. A template. That means it was an experiment. And the experiment was a success. They proved that they can steal the savings of the population without causing a revolution. Now, they are preparing to apply the Cyprus model to the entire world. The signs are everywhere. The war on cash is intensifying. They want to force you into digital payments so that you cannot withdraw your money. If you try to take out more than a few $1,000s in cash today, the teller treats you like a criminal. They file a suspicious activity report. Why? Because they need to keep the cattle in the pen. They need your liquidity to prop up their leverage. The banking system is a parasite that has attached itself to the jugular vein of the economy. It sucks the lifeblood capital out of the productive sector to fuel its gambling addiction in the derivatives market. The derivatives bubble is estimated at over $1 quadrillion. That is a 1 followed by 15 zeros. There is not enough money in the entire world to pay off those bets when they go bad. So, when the margin call comes, they will eat the host. They will eat your deposits. You need to understand the physiological reality of your bank account. It is not a storage locker. It is an IV bag connected to a dying patient. The patient is the bank. And when the patient goes into cardiac arrest, the doctors, the regulators will squeeze every drop of blood out of that bag, your savings, to try to restart the heart. They do not care if you bleed out. Their priority is to save the system, not the participants. The year 2026 is the likely flashpoint because of the commercial real estate collapse. Banks are holding trillions of dollars in loans for office buildings that are empty. These loans are going to default. The banks will be technically insolvent. The rumors will start. The bank runs will begin. And then, on a Friday evening, the announcement will come. To preserve financial stability, we are implementing a bail-in. You will log into your app. You will see your balance, but you won't be able to move it. And on Monday morning, you will own shares in a corpse. The trap is set. The doors are locked. And you're still standing in the lobby, admiring the marble floors, oblivious to the fact that the building is already condemned. Let us zoom in on the specific pathology that will trigger this cardiac arrest in 2026. You might be thinking, my bank is big, my bank is solid. This won't happen to me. You're wrong. The infection is already in the bloodstream. It is hiding in plain sight in the downtown of every major city in America. Look at the office towers. Look at the skyscrapers in San Francisco, in New York, and Chicago. They are monuments to a dead era. They are empty. The remote work revolution has turned the central nervous system of corporate America into a ghost town. And this is not just an urban planning problem. It is a multi-trillion-dollar financial bomb that is strapped to the chest of the banking system. Commercial real estate is the collateral that backs the loans of thousands of regional banks. When a developer builds a skyscraper, he borrows money. When the building is empty, he cannot pay the rent. When he cannot pay the rent, he defaults on the loan. When he defaults on the loan, the bank takes possession of the building. But here's the catch. The building is worth 50% less than the loan. The asset has become a liability. The bank is now holding a bag of toxic waste. In 2026, a massive wave of these commercial real estate loans over $1.5 trillion will mature. They need to be refinanced, but they were originally financed at 3% interest. Now, they have to refinance at 7 or 8%. The math does not work. The developers will simply walk away. They will hand the keys to the banks. Here, it is your problem now. And suddenly, hundreds of banks across America will wake up to find that their balance sheets are insolvent. Their assets are worth less than their liabilities. In the medical world, we call this organ failure. This is where the illusion of the FDIC finally shatters. I touched on this before, but we need to look at the cold, hard numbers to understand the magnitude of the lie. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation is the holy grail of American financial faith. You see that little gold sticker on the bank door member FDIC, and you feel safe. You think, the government guarantees my money? No, they don't. The FDIC is an insurance company funded by premiums paid by banks. It is not a magic money tree. As of the last quarterly report, the Deposit Insurance Fund holds approximately $121 billion. That sounds like a lot of money. But the total amount of insured deposits in the U.S. banking system is nearly $10 trillion, and the total amount of uninsured deposits is another 7 or 8 trillion. Do the division. The reserve ratio is roughly 1.2%. They have $1.20 for every $100 of your money they claim to protect. This works fine if one small bank in Kansas fails. The fund pays out, and nobody panics. But what happens in 2026 when the commercial real estate collapse takes down 50 regional banks at once? What happens when a systemically important bank like Truist or U.S. Bank starts to wobble? The $120 billion will disappear in an afternoon. It will be vaporized. The fund will go to zero. And in that moment of terror, when the news breaks that the insurance fund is empty, the government will face a binary choice. Choice A, print $10 trillion to bail everyone out, turning the US dollar into the Zimbabwe dollar by Tuesday morning. Choice B, execute the bail-in protocols legally established under Title II of the Dodd-Frank Act. Title II is the smoking gun. It is the orderly liquidation authority. It gives the FDIC the power to resolve a failing financial company, not by paying off the creditors, but by converting their debt into equity. And remember, as a depositor, you are a creditor. The law was written specifically to prevent another 2008-style taxpayer bailout. The politicians patted themselves on the back. We protected the taxpayer. Yes, they did, by targeting the depositor. They decided that it is better to steal the life savings of the grandmother who trusts the bank than to tax the worker who hates the bank. It is a political calculation. The grandmother is less likely to riot. This mechanism transforms the banking system into a roach motel. The money checks in, but it doesn't check out. When the crisis hits, the first thing they will do is impose bank holidays. They will close the branches. The apps will show a system maintenance error. This is the digital equivalent of locking the doors of the theater while it is on fire. They need time to restructure the balance sheet. They need time to calculate exactly how much of your money they need to confiscate to make the bank solvent again. During this holiday, the haircut is applied. Maybe they take 20%, maybe they take 50%. Maybe they take everything above the insured limit, which, remember, the insurance fund can't actually pay anyway. When the doors reopen, you will have a new balance. The missing money will be replaced by shares of stock in the new bank. You will be an involuntary investor in a failed institution. You will try to sell the stock, but nobody will buy it. It will be worthless paper. The physiological horror of this is that it happens instantly. One minute you are solvent, the next minute you are destitute. And there is no due process. There is no judge. There is no jury. The determination is made by administrative fiat behind closed doors in Washington. They will call it stabilizing the system. They will say it was necessary to prevent contagion. They will use clinical, sterile language to describe the amputation of your financial future. And do not think you can escape by moving to the too big to fail banks like JP Morgan or Bank of America. These banks are the most exposed to the derivatives market. They are the heart of the global casino. If the regional banks fail, the contagion travels up the bloodstream to the heart. The GSIB's global systemically important banks have explicit living wills that detail how they will execute bail-ins to save themselves. It is written in their corporate charters. They have already planned your robbery. They have the paperwork ready. The trigger is set for 2026 because that is when the wall of maturities in the bond market and the real estate market coincides. It is a mathematical inevitability. The interest rates are too high for the old debts to survive. Something has to break. And when it breaks, the liquidity to fix it has to come from somewhere. The government is broke 35 trillion debt. The Fed is broke, technically operating at a loss. The only pool of real liquid capital left in the world is your savings. You are the piggy bank, and they are holding the hammer. They are just waiting for the right moment to smash it open. The commercial real estate crash is simply the excuse they need to swing the hammer. There is one obvious escape route from this burning building, and the architects of the system know it. It is physical cash. If you hold paper dollars in a safe in your basement, the bank cannot bail in those funds. They cannot convert your physical bills into worthless stock. Cash is the only form of money that exists outside the digital ledger of the banking system. It is freedom. And that is exactly why the government and the banks have declared a total war on it. They are not trying to eliminate cash because it is dirty or inefficient. They are trying to eliminate it because it is the key to your cell. We are witnessing the construction of a digital cage. The bars are made of convenience. The lock is made of surveillance. And the guard is the central bank digital currency, or CBDC. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is stated public policy. The Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, the Bank of England, they are all racing to launch digital currencies. Why? Because a CBDC gives them total physiological control over the economy. In the current system, if you panic, you can run to the ATM and pull your money out. This creates a bank run. A bank run is the only power the depositor has. It is the ability to vote with your wallet. It forces the bank to be honest. But in a CBDC system, there is no cash to withdraw. There is no physical token. Your money is just an entry in a database controlled directly by the Federal Reserve. You cannot run from a digital bank. You cannot hide. Imagine the year 2026. The crisis has started. The banks are failing. You try to transfer your money to gold or to Bitcoin or to a foreign jurisdiction, but the app says transaction denied. Why? Because capital controls have been activated. With a CBDC, the government can program your money. They can tell your money where it can be spent, when it can be spent, and what it can be spent on. They can turn off your ability to buy gasoline if you have exceeded your carbon quota. They can freeze your account if you donated to the wrong political protest. They can apply negative interest rates, a tax on saving that automatically deducts 1% of your balance every month to force you to spend. This is the bail-in on steroids. In the old system, they had to wait for a crisis to steal your money. In the new system, they can bleed you slowly, algorithmically, every single day. It is a financial IV drip that extracts value from your labor and transfers it to the state, without you ever lifting a finger to stop it. The war on cash is the preparation for this transition. Look at what is happening right now. Banks are closing branches at a record pace. ATMs are being removed. Businesses are putting up signs saying card only or no cash accepted. They are conditioning the herd. They are training you to be helpless without your phone. They are making cash inconvenient, then suspicious, and finally, illegal. Try to withdraw $10,000 from your bank tomorrow. Watch the teller's face. Watch the manager come over. They will ask you what the money is for. They will make you feel like a drug dealer. They will file a CTR currency transaction report with the Treasury. They are building a database of cash hoarders. Why? Because when the bail-in happens, they want to know exactly who has the lifeboats. They want to know who escaped the net. The CBDC is the ultimate tool of the bail-in because it eliminates the concept of a deposit entirely. In a digital currency regime, you don't have money at the central bank. You have a liability of the central bank. The difference is subtle but fatal. It means your purchasing power exists only at the pleasure of the issuer. If they decide to devalue the currency by 50% overnight to pay off the national debt, they just change a line of code. You wake up, and your digital dollars buy half as much bread. No laws passed, no votes cast, just a software update. This is the physiological equivalent of having a chip implanted in your brain that controls your dopamine levels. The state can dial up your pleasure stimulus checks or dial down your survival negative rates instantly. You cease to be an economic actor with free will. You become a node in the network, a battery that charges the system. The rush to implement this is driven by the coming collapse. They know the banking system is insolvent. They know they cannot save it with normal tools. So they are building the digital concentration camp before the prisoners realize they are under arrest. They need the CBDC in place before 2026 so that when the banks fail, they can airdrop the new digital tokens directly into your wallet. Don't worry, they will say. Your bank failed, but here's your FedCoin account. It's safe. It's secure. And in that moment of panic, most people will take the deal. They will trade their freedom for the illusion of safety. They will accept the digital cage because they are terrified of the chaos outside. This is the Hegelian dialectic again. Create the problem, bank failure. Wait for the reaction, panic. Offer the solution, CBDC. But for those who are awake, for those who understand the protocol bail-in, this is the signal to exit the system entirely. You cannot fight a digital tyranny with digital weapons. You need analog wealth. You need things that are real. You need things that do not require electricity or an internet connection to have value. The window is closing, the cash is disappearing, the digital walls are going up. Every day you leave your wealth in the electronic banking system is a day you're betting that the arsonists won't light the match. But look at their hands. They are already holding the gasoline. We have seen the trap. We have seen the mechanism. We have seen the digital cage they are building. Now, the most important question remains, how do you get out? The protocol bail-in relies on one thing, your passivity. It relies on you leaving your wealth inside the blast radius. But unlike the passengers on the Titanic, you have been given a warning. You can see the iceberg. The collision hasn't happened yet. You have a brief moment in time, perhaps 6 months, perhaps 18 months, to secure your life vest. The solution is radical, but simple. You must become your own bank. This is not a slogan. It is a survival imperative. Becoming your own bank means taking custody of your assets so that no counterparty can seize them, freeze them, or bail them in. It means removing the middleman risk from your life. Step 1 is the great withdrawal. You need to minimize your exposure to the banking system. Keep only what you need for monthly bills in your checking account. Treat the bank as a transactional utility. Like a sewer pipe, money flows through it, but money does not stay in it. Everything else, your savings, your emergency fund, your retirement, must be moved into bearer assets. What is a bearer asset? It is an asset that you own simply by holding it. There is no registry. There is no database. There is no third party who has to say yes for you to use it. Gold is the ultimate bearer asset. A gold coin in your hand is money. It has been money for 5,000 years. It will be money after the dollar dies. It cannot be hacked. It cannot be erased. It cannot be bailed in. If you hold it, you own it. Silver is the poor man's gold, but it is just as effective. In a crisis, silver coins are easier to spend on small items like food or fuel. Having a stack of silver eagles is like having a battery that never runs out of charge. It is financial energy stored in physical form. But physical metal has a weakness. It is hard to move across borders. If you need to flee, you can't carry 100 pounds of gold. This is where Bitcoin enters the equation. Not crypto, not NFTs. Not the gambling tokens that chaotic casino sells you. Bitcoin. But only if you hold your own private keys. If your Bitcoin is on an exchange like Coinbase or Binance, you do not own Bitcoin. You own an IOU from a tech company. And when the crisis hits, that tech company will freeze your account just like a bank. You must withdraw your Bitcoin to a hardware wallet, a cold storage device. This is a Swiss bank account in your pocket. It is a bearer asset that you can memorize. 12 words in your head can transport billions of dollars of value anywhere in the world, instantly, without permission. Step 2 is jurisdictional diversification. The bail-in laws are coordinated across the G7 nations. The US, Canada, UK, Europe, Australia, they are all in the same sinking boat. You need a foothold outside of this block. You need a Plan B passport or residency in a country that is not part of the debt empire. South America, parts of Asia, or the Middle East. You need a place to go if the digital cage slams shut in the West. This sounds extreme, but ask the Jews of Germany in 1933, or the White Russians in 1917. History punishes those who wait too long to leave. Step 3 is debt detox. The banking system uses debt as a leash. If you have a mortgage, a car loan, or credit card debt, you are a slave to the system. They own your future labor. In a deflationary crash, which often precedes the hyperinflation, debt becomes heavier. It becomes harder to pay. They will use your debt to strip your assets. Oh, you can't pay your mortgage because we froze your bank account? Too bad. We are foreclosing on your house. Get out of debt. Sell the toys. Downsize. Freedom is better than luxury. The psychological shift you need to make is the hardest part. You have been trained since birth to trust institutions. You have been trained that the bank is safe, the government is benevolent, and the dollar is strong. You have to unlearn all of that. You have to adopt a zero-trust architecture for your life. Verify everything. Trust nothing. Assume the system is hostile until proven otherwise. The bail-in is coming. The laws are passed. The mechanisms are tested. The trigger is pulled. The only variable left is you. Will you be the victim who stands in the lobby screaming at the locked doors? Or will you be the survivor who is watching from a safe distance, holding your gold, holding your keys, and holding your freedom? The wealth transfer of 2026 will be the largest in human history, but wealth is never destroyed. It is merely transferred. It will move from the unprepared to the prepared, from the trusting to the skeptical, from the paper holders to the asset holders. You have the knowledge. Now you need the courage to act. This is the final transmission of the warning. The signal is clear. The noise is deafening. But if you listen closely, you can hear the sound of the vault doors closing. Don't be on the inside.